Good evening. I must say a Happy New Year as well. Tonight on The Probe, we delve into the unfolding drama of Ghana's democratic transition. Well, with the 8th Parliament set to be dissolved, all eyes are on the race for the Speaker of the 9th Parliament. Already, the current Speaker, Right Honourable Alban Sumana Kingsford-Bagbin, is in pole position following the endorsement by the President-elect John Dramani Mahama. It also promises to be a defining moment for the incoming NDC-led government, which now holds an overwhelming majority in Parliament, with, as we speak, 183 seats against the 88 seats of the NPP, and 4 independent seats, with just 1 outstanding seat, which is the Ablekuma North, yet to be declared by the EC after the recollation process earlier today was suspended. Well, as the nation gears up for the inauguration of the President-elect John Dramani Mahama, we'll also explore how this new parliamentary dynamics could shape governance, legislation, and of course, Ghana's political future. Will the incoming minority side put up a candidate remains a key question when it comes to the election of Speaker. Will Alban Bagbin get a smooth ride to become the second number 3 gentleman to be retained for the second time as a Speaker of Parliament? We'll get to delve into all the details right here on The Probe tonight. Well, I've been speaking about the President-elect John Mahama in consultation with the National Executive and Parliamentary Leadership of the NDC, mandating the nomination of Alban Sumana Kingsford-Bagbin, and that statement put out earlier by the aide to the President-elect, and he joins me in the studios tonight. We'll get into it, and then we know that this is where we are in terms of the statement. And the Speaker of Parliament nominations, let's talk about 2020. This is how it looks like. We know that Professor Aaron Michael Quay, the former Speaker of Parliament's name came up. At least they wanted to retain him, but that did not happen. We all remember that drama and the chaos that characterized that particular election. And Alban Bagbin was put up by the minority, incoming majority side to be elected. And of course, after all the drama, he then emerged as a Speaker of Parliament. Then going on this, we know that the Speaker of Parliament nominations we've seen from 2008 to 2016, Joyce Banford-Addo in 2009, Edward Doa-Jaho in 2013, and then Professor Aaron Michael Quay in 2017, ended in 2020 when Alban Sumana Kingsford-Bagbin took over from him. Then what do we know in terms of the Speakers of the Fourth Republic, of Parliament in the Fourth Republic as we've had it? From 1993 to 2001, we had D.F. Annan, Daniel Francis Annan as Speaker. Then 2001 to 2005, we had Peter Alajete. Then in 2005 to 2009, Ebenezer Sechi Hughes then took over. Then 2009 to 2013, we have Joyce Adeline Bamford-Addo, the only female as we speak. People were hoping that we're going to get another female Speaker this time around, but that is not to happen. We don't know if the minority side will be putting up a female candidate, yet to be seen. Then 2013 to 2017, we know that Edward Doa-Jaho. Then 2017, 2021, Professor Aaron Michael Quay. Then 2021, 2025, Alban Sumana Kingsford-Bagbin. The rest is history that has to be made from 2025 all the way. We'll get to know. But as we speak, like I've been saying, D.F. Annan is the only Speaker that was retained twice. So if Alban Bagbin gets to be retained this time around with that massive endorsement by the President-elect, he then becomes the second number 3 gentleman to be retained as Speaker of Parliament. But these and more are issues we'll be delving into tonight right here. From the inauguration, there are plans underway for the big inauguration on the 7th of January. We'll be talking about it. Then the entire 9th Parliament, the dynamics, how it looks like. Then the dissolution itself, which will happen tomorrow, getting into Tuesday, which is at midnight. All that and more right here on The Probe. I am Emefa Apau, and this is The Probe. We are live on the Joy News channel. We're on Joy 99.7 FM, all our social media platforms. My guest tonight will have the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament and outgoing MP for Bekwai, Jose Wusu, joining us via Zoom. Dr. Rashid Draman, Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, ASEPA, also joining us via Zoom. And then in the studios tonight, joining me is MP-elect for Abra Asebu Kwaman Kese, also the special aide to the President-elect, and also the spokesperson for the transition team, Felix Kwachiofosu, in the studios with me. Welcome, Felix.
Thanks, Amifa.
Good to see you. Well, I hope all is set. You look very tired, but I know that all is set for us to have that inauguration, you would say, right?
Oh, yes, all is set. This afternoon there was a meeting of the joint transition team, at which meeting we were briefed on preparations so far.
Okay.
And from all indications, we are 98% set to hold the event on Tuesday.
Okay.
So it promises to be a memorable one.
We look forward to that. Of course, we'll be delving deeper into that. And since you won that seat, I haven't had the opportunity to congratulate you. So congratulate you once again.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll get talking. Please do stay with us here on The Probe.
I'm sorry to say this. When you want to turn the Chamber of Parliament into a palace, then you become a tyrant.
Is he a tyrant?
He's becoming. And I'm sorry I'm saying this because this is my favorite speaker. I mean
you elected him.
I can tell you.
You whipped your members to elect him.
I can tell you that if there's a member of Parliament today in this house who, if I were a Suku fan, will enjoy the reign of this speaker, I don't think anybody will have enjoyed his reign better than me.
I mean, he owes his speakership to your whipping abilities.
Just as I disagree with Professor Quay, I disagree a number of times with Duajao. I won't say because Babin is my favorite speaker.
Have you told him this, that he's become a tyrant directly? Because you have a clear line.
I have said that several times.
And what is his response?
He disagrees with me, but I tell him that, tell me what chief does, a chief will do in his palace. When he says anything, that's fine. That's what chiefs do. That's what chief, but you are not a chief. You are supposed to be a Speaker of Parliament. And the Speaker of Parliament listens to both sides and patiently, even where there's disagreement. And that's the essence of democracy. To sometimes even disagree, I agree to disagree. But where you personalize it and make it look as if a disagreement is a disrespect to you, or it's an affront to you, or it's like denigrating you, then I'm sorry, then you'll be a bad speaker. And for nothing, this is where I respected Professor Quay. Where you have all the leaders teaming up and agree on something, he will easily abandon.
He built consensus on both sides.
Far better
than your own NDC.
I'm saying it without an apology.
Speaker of Parliament.
Quay built consensus far better than we are having now. Because you see, I mean, I'm sorry I'm saying this, and I'm the one saying this. When you make it difficult for others to even air their views before you, they simply fold their arms.
Have you folded your arms?
I will never. I'm not the type who folds their arms. I will challenge it anytime. I will challenge it anytime, any day, unless I'm not given the opportunity to speak.
Before I hear you always on air disagreeing with me and so vehement that people are doubting, is this really my friend? So I'm just drawing your attention. If you want to continue to be my friend, then you know the proper thing to do.
If I want to be your friend, or if you want to be my friend, it's mutual. It's mutual.
You have to be my friend, not me be your friend. At least I have a position in Ghana. Number 3. What is your number? Directed that no Reverend Father should celebrate over a gay or lesbian marriage. And I said, Roma locuta complete, causa finita. Yes, Rome has spoken, and the matter is ended. So please, committee members that will refer the bill to, we want the report. Don't be intimidated by any person. Hallelujah. I made this statement when I was a member of the European Parliament, European ACP Parliament in Brussels. Now we have 2 of our members who happen to be leading our committee, Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, who are handling the bill. And since we referred it to them up to date, we have not heard anything. I've reminded him many times on the floor of the House. What are the challenges you are meeting? Report to us. If you take action against them, say, oh, because I'm MPP. That's why he's taking action against me. Ah, I'm NDC. Because he's taking action against me. Because
I think when we were in the senior high, we were not calling it senior high, we were calling it secondary school. There was some song, it's too late to say that you are sorry. After you broken my heart. When I needed you to satisfy my soul. You turn your back and said.
That's the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbing there. You heard from Mutaka when he described him as a dictator, amongst others, all the way to the Speaker himself. You remember the number 3 incident. Well, that and more are issues that we'll be talking about tonight as the race to the election of the next Speaker for the 9th Parliament heats up. Already, it does look like he is in pole position, but do they all agree when it comes to election of Speaker Alban Bagbing? The first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joe Wise, joins us via Zoom. I'll be getting to him shortly, but indeed, inauguration is also lurking, and the number of preparations have been transitioned. There's been a lot of controversy, and Felix Kwachiofosu, MP-elect, Abura Sebuko Amankese, and also the aide and also the spokesperson to the transition team is with me in the studios, like I said earlier. So let's talk about the process so far. We'll come to the inauguration, but transition, a lot has happened, a lot has gone down. So far, how would you describe the entire process, you say?
Well, it's been cordial. I think I've had occasion to speak to the media a number of times concerning the atmosphere within which the transition is being carried out. And it's been cordial so far.
Okay.
It is true that there have been disagreements on specific matters.
In terms of payment, how did we resolve in particular?
Well, I think that we made our position clear.
Okay.
That in consonance with the precedent that the MPP itself set in 2016, it was imperative that all appointments and significant payments in this period be held on to, pending the official assumption of office of the new government. We have made that position very clear. The government dug in and insisted that they had a mandate to do so. We subsequently said that we've made our position clear, and that if these things are not halted and we come into power and we find that they are irregular and it is necessary to reverse them, we will do so. Okay. That is how we intend to resolve it. So we've stated that, and we've left it at that. Okay. Subsequent to that, we do know that there are a few conscientious public and civil servants who have heeded to our calls to hold on to such payments and such other activities. And they are not complying with what we believe to be irregular directives to do these things at this particular time. But when we come to power, as we stated some time ago, we will take action as and when it is necessary to preserve what we believe to be the national interest. Because we do not see why, at this time, there should be such an indecent haste to push through these appointments, some of which do not go through due process, some of which are not done with recourse to established procedure. Monies are being paid in a manner that would jeopardize our fiscal position when we come to power. And we think that we need to have a handle on this. So we've stated our position clearly, and we will act accordingly. Okay.
From what you see in the books, at least, we heard from the president during the SONA that Ghana is not broke. Indeed, we are well-resourced. We have enough. They are leaving you monies that is unprecedented. In fact, you did not leave them with such monies, for instance, in the books.
Yeah, from what you've seen, do not be taken in by economic jargons. When the president speaks about gross international reserves, he's simply talking about monies that are encumbered, monies that are only passing through the accounts because they will be used for specific payments. If you look at the net international reserves, that is where you can tell whether any money has been left. And I can tell you that that position is dire. Okay. As we speak, there are significant obligations that confront the government of Ghana in the first few months of this year. For instance, I think by last week, Tuesday, the 2nd of January, if I'm not mistaken, that would be Wednesday or Thursday, I believe. Government of Ghana was due to pay $364 million in debt servicing because the debt restructuring that was done pushed debt servicing to the beginning of 2025. Okay. So just this week, we have had to pay $364 million. That will affect our reserves position. In February, at the end of February, we are also due to pay another 6.1 billion Ghana cedis in interest payment or debt service, if you like. And we do not have the money. Government has had to borrow in order to be able to fulfill that commitment. So when the president tells you that he is leaving in money, that is not the case. We know that the situation is bad. Indeed, the reason why we campaigned so vigorously to end the mandate of the people of Ghana was to stem the economic decline and let nobody be in any doubt about the parlous state of our economy, about the way that it has been run down. A country that cannot pay its debts, that has had to beg creditors for some time, a country that has taken 240 billion Ghana cedis from over 1.3 million bondholders cannot by any stretch of the imagination claim that its economy is in good shape. As we speak, our currency has been in free fall for some time. If you exchanged a dollar for a cedi today, you would have to cough up 16.6 Ghana cedis to get $1. Yeah. That is not a country in good shape. A country with inflation still hovering around double digits, 20% and above, is not a country whose economy is by any means in good shape. A country with such high interest rates, a country with such unemployment levels. As I speak to you, there is about 2.5 billion Ghana cedis of debt in the energy sector alone. That runs into close to 30 billion Ghana cedis.
But we were told these debts were being cleared, at least.
No such debt has been cleared.
Okay.
Indeed, ESLA must have accrued 40 billion Ghana cedis by now. But we still owe 2.5 billion Ghana cedis to various players in the energy sector. There are serious problems in the energy sector. The Gensa matter is one that leaves a debt overhang of about $2 billion around our neck. So if anybody tells you that this economy is in good shape, he's not being truthful. And I'm surprised that...
So you insist that Ghana is broke?
You and I live in this country. You look at the cost of living alone. Look at the way that families are struggling to eke out a living on a daily basis. Indeed, sometime in 2024, it was reported that up to 8.5 million Ghanaians went a whole day without food. I mean, which country with a good economy has that kind of statistic? So let nobody be in any doubt about the gravity of the situation, the way that this country has been run down by the new Progressive Party across all sectors. Across all sectors. As I speak to you, school feeding caterers are demanding payment. This week you've heard them. Yeah. How they've been wailing and ambushing government, demanding their payments. As I speak to you, commitments in the road sector alone ran into about 120 billion Ghana cedis commitments. That is, road contracts that have been awarded, that the government of Ghana has no money to execute. It is up to 120 billion Ghana cedis. Arrears, that is, certificates that have matured, that need to be paid alone, is 12 billion Ghana cedis. So we are in extremely dire straits.
It does appear that it's going to be a shaky start then for President-elect. And then
well, we have always known that the situation is bad. If the situation was good, we would not have bothered to engage the people of Ghana to give us a mandate. So we are prepared for anything that we confront. But the reality of the situation must be laid bare.
What would you say to those who say that it does appear that you've started with excuses?
What excuse? Is it not the case that we owe debts that we cannot pay? Is our national debt not close to 800 billion Ghana cedis? So if we state that fact, how is that an excuse? It's not an excuse. Okay. The reality must be spoken to. In fact, the reason why Ghanaians have voted in the manner that they have done is that they were unhappy about the situation. So if we tell you that the situation is dire, I don't think that anybody can say that we are making excuses. But it is important that we level up with the people and that we are upfront with them and we tell them what the situation is.
On being upfront, sure. Felix, from what you see in the books, at least, is not a good situation. How long do we have to brace ourselves for us and be able to deal with this situation and get out of it?
Has said that he will hit the ground running. The moment he is elected, he will begin to work to ensure that there's an improvement in the situation. So whatever needs to be done is going to be done.
Do we know how long? Do we know how long that will take?
But he has a 4-year mandate. So after the 4 years, you are in a position to assess his performance. But that is precisely the reason why you need an experienced hand like President Mahama, who is unfazed by what he meets. He understands the situation already. He knows the ins and outs of governance and is prepared to implement measures to address the problems that he will confront. So it is a 4-year mandate, and across those 4 years, what he says he will do, he will do.
Do we have to tighten our belts across the 4 years? Or
well, the point is that the situation is already bad. It's not like we are inheriting a good situation. Eventually, if you have to address the situation, there are decisions that you need to make, some of which may impinge on the citizenry. But what the Ghanaian population looks out for is honesty and candor and modesty governance devoid of the sort of arrogance of power that the MPP exhibited. The very same things they are exhibiting, even at a time when they have been swept out of power by such a huge margin. I mean, you saw how the president was dishing out national awards like confetti to people who clearly do not deserve it, people who have not conducted themselves in a manner that warrants any national award. But President Mahama is promising a vastly different sort of governance. Governance that levels up with the people, governance that is truthful, governance that is modest, governance that takes responsibility, first and foremost, for the situation, and governance that commits to addressing the problem in an open and transparent manner.
Okay.
That sort of governance is what President Mahama brings to the table. And then he brings significant experience and knows what has to be done. You saw that the moment he was declared winner, he began to tour the African continent to meet leaders in other countries, to establish the necessary rapport, to ensure that Ghana once again is recognized and respected among the Committee of Nations, and that we take our rightful place within the international community's arrangements. And so there's a man who is prepared for the task. And as the days go by, he will roll out his program. He's billed to address Parliament in his first State of the Nation address sometime along the line. Okay. And I'm sure that in that address, he will lay bare what the situation is and what exactly he is going to do to address them. So no excuses have been made. And let not those who have basically destroyed our country take cold comfort in the fact that the situation is being spoken to. I've heard some of them attempt to create the impression that we say we wave a magic wand, and that the very day that President Mahama takes office, everything that they have destroyed ought to be erected. I don't think that any reasonable Ghanaian thinks that way. Okay. And therefore, President Mahama will enjoin the people of Ghana to support his government, support the programs that he will. These are programs that will be beneficial to the people of Ghana. Okay. So that in the long run, it will be seen that he's made a clear difference in the lives of the people.
Well, I know that preparations are underway, and you would have to leave me at some point when it comes to the inauguration.
Sure.
But you penned a statement earlier, at least you put that out earlier, in the name of President-elect John Dramani Mahama on that massive endorsement of Speaker Alban Bagbin.
Sure.
You are going to be an MP, part of the 9th Parliament as well. This particular decision, would you say, I know that it was in consultation with the National Council amongst others, is this a decision that you say is welcomed by the entire
side? I'm an MP-elect, billed to be sworn in at midnight on 7 January. I have not heard any complaints, any disagreements within the NDC's parliamentary caucus. It is a decision that was achieved through consensus building. As you see, President Mahama consulted with the national leadership of the NDC and the parliamentary leadership. He is the leader of the NDC by virtue of being president. Yes. And therefore, he is the one at whose desk the buck stops. He ultimately has to make. So is this a decision he's imposing on his side? Not imposing. I'm not sure that anybody can say that a decision that was taken on the basis of consultation with key stakeholders amounts to imposition. The reason why the parliamentary leadership was consulted, that they are the ones who represent MPs, MPs elect like myself, and therefore they have the mandate to engage in such discussions and consultation with the leadership of the NDC. Okay. All of us were elected on the ticket of the NDC. I was elected by the good people of Abra Sebu Kabankese, and I'm most grateful and thankful to them for the overwhelming mandate they reposed in me. But I am not an independent candidate. I was elected on the ticket of the NDC. The entire NDC machinery in the constituency backed me to seek that mandate. Once I obtained that mandate, I cannot behave as though I'm working on my own volition and that I went there based on my own efforts. I'm representing a party. I believe in the ideology and position of the National Democratic Congress. Of course, where there's a need to disagree on the basis of principle, it will not be difficult to do so. But the point is that it is the decision of the party, NDC, to put forward a candidate. Now, that kind of decision cannot be made without the approval, the consent, or the say-so of the leader of the party, who happens to be a president-elect. It is he who has to galvanize the entire machinery of the NDC to reach a decision on what it is that our position is on the issue of the speaker. So he engaged in a necessary consultation, and that's why you see that there's no uproar I don't know.
At least not publicly.
Absolutely. There's no, not even privately. Okay. I'm not aware of any approach. It is because it is a well-considered decision.
Okay.
Right Honorable Bagban is a vastly experienced individual who has gone through the ranks. He's given decades of his life in the service of Parliament. He started off as a member of Parliament for Nadoli, Kalio at the time. He became minority leader at a critical juncture in the NDC's history when we went into opposition for the first time. When the NPP threatened to run roughshod over us, he stood toe-to-toe with them, defended the position of the NDC, and through that won a lot of plaudits, made the NDC attractive to many people who otherwise did not want to.
In spite of that also,
he became majority leader.
You've heard the criticism also of Alban Bagbin being a dictator, sort of.
Well, I'll be surprised.
Being a chief, trying to impose things on people. And you've heard his criticism some time back of President-elect John Dramani Mahama when he was president.
But perhaps it should gladden your heart. It should gladden your heart that despite open disagreements with President Mahama in the past, he has had no difficulty nominating. That shows you that President Mahama is a man who is not overly partisan, who does not make decisions based on sentiments, who is not out there to seek retribution against critics. I can bet you that if it was President Akufo-Addo who had to make the decision, there was no way he was going to go for a man who had criticized him publicly, not even privately. So to the extent that President Mahama is able to overlook public criticism of him by the Right Honorable Bagbin and still retain him and repose that confidence in him, tells you, speaks volumes about his commitment to democracy. What it also means is that there is a president who is not necessarily concerned about the fact that we will have the leader of an important arm of government who would have the capacity to call him out, to criticize him, or publicly disagree with his decisions. I think that if you are a lover of Ghanaian democracy, it should gladden your heart that we've gotten to a juncture where we have a president who is comfortable working with people who are predisposed to criticizing him, even if they come from his own party. I think that it is an important juncture that we need to celebrate.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
as for the criticism,
since we are speaking about a speaker and that dissolution they raised to get in the speaker for the 9th Parliament, please permit me. Let me bring in Joe Osei-Owusu, is the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament at the 8th Parliament, and also the outgoing MP for Bekwai. Thankfully, joins us via Zoom. He's been with us all this while. Thank you so much for staying with us, Mr. Joe Osei-Owusu. Really, this particular endorsement. Let's start with. I was hoping that we could get a general overview of the outgoing 8th Parliament. We'll talk about it. But does this particular decision to maintain Alban Bagbin as Speaker gladdens your heart, like the way Felix is saying that gladdens everybody's heart, at least on their side?
Well, from now I can speak for myself. I just read the statement issued by Felix Otosu-Boakye about 3 hours ago. So I've not had the opportunity to discuss that with anybody else. So I can only speak for myself. I was expecting that there will be a change in the management of Parliament's administration. You would recall that in the last 2 years or so, I've been emphatic that the 8th Parliament has been a waste of time. We spent so much time being petty, fighting over things that we could have negotiated and agreed upon, practically not being a parliament. But Parliament, the main agenda, start from disagreements. We negotiate and come down and reach agreements for the country. So I was hoping that a new chapter would be opened. However be it, I also argued that probably one of the worst reasons, one of the main reasons we have experienced the 8th Parliament the way we have is actually how close we are. 137, 137 plus an independent to make it 138, 137. That closeness has brought the West in us as members of Parliament. Because I've been fortunate to be a member of 4 parliaments. And the 2 previous ones, even though not widely apart, we negotiated a lot. At the time as a backbencher, we take a hard position, you expect that you'll be led to fight on. You hear the leaders have gone into a meeting, they have discussed, they have reached this, that. In the end, I learned that really the real Parliament is the one who can negotiate and build consensus. Now, the 3rd Parliament I was in is the 7th Parliament. And I've said that it is the best parliament we have had so far. If you look through the records, the number of laws that parliament passed has never been done. And I think that largely it was because of the vastness of the differences between the two sides of the House, the minority and the majority. I think it facilitated a lot in doing the business that were put before the House. This eighth parliament this ninth parliament promises to have that character if the majority is minded to make it so, because they have the numbers, and if they can whip all members to be in attendance when it is important, they can take all decisions they wish to take. I hope that is what we experience.
But I'm wondering, what contribution or how did the Speaker, as we speak, contribute to that waste of time that you talk about, for which reason you were hoping to see a new chapter?
Well, a lot of the time the controversies were around the Speaker. Either some of his decisions or his interpretations and known conduct or statements. Something which I encountered for the first time is a statement from the Speaker. In the previous Parliament, no Speaker had done that, in which Mr. Speaker takes advantage of that space to make long speeches presenting his views as that of Parliament. The Speaker is not a member of Parliament. I think that emphasis is clear, should be made clear. But unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, in his eagerness to chart his position, practically took over Parliament, and he kept presenting his views and pushing it as that of Parliament. I've always had challenges with that, and I think that the Speaker of Parliament should facilitate for members to take the decisions. If he has to advise members, it is done in the back room. But on the floor of the House, the Speaker should ensure that members of Parliament do take the decision. This is where I saw that Mr. Speaker, in many instances, had taken the lead and practically taking over Parliament to make statements that appear to be that of Parliament, but in fact are not that of Parliament, but his own.
At least the president-elect holds a different view. He feels that Speaker Alban Bagbin is best placed to do this. But if you were to ask whether you have a name or somebody that you feel is best fit for the description that you're giving to be able to steer the affairs of the ninth Parliament, who would it be, you would say?
I have no desire to make any such venture, to make any such suggestion. I'm sure in their ranks, they have many other people who could have done that, but it's entirely up to them. The only other thing is, if you read the statement put out by Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, it's suggesting that Parliament is an appendix of the executive, the president in consultation with. It suggests that the president who is taking the decision. Parliament is an arm of government. The president may influence who leads Parliament, but it should not make it appear as if it's the president who is deciding who, and he is consulting with others. I think that communication was inappropriate. It shouldn't be presented as if it is the president who is choosing the Speaker and is consulting with other people. No. Eventually, it is Parliament that will endorse whoever is nominated, but we should just leave the nomination, we should leave the president out of the nomination, because it gives the wrong impression about Parliament as an independent arm of government.
Is that a criticism you're willing to take in terms of what Joe Wise is saying?
Well, I am surprised by the Honourable Osewusu's position. Well, perhaps I should not be. First of all, there is a political opponent of Mr. Bagbin. So a disagreement with Mr. Bagbin is not surprising.
They've worked closely.
The second point is that the nature of the 8th Parliament is precisely the reason why we needed someone of the caliber of Mr. Bagbin. The reason why Honourable Joe Wise...
But technically, he was part of the 8th Parliament.
The point is that the reason why he is unhappy about how that Parliament has gone is that Parliament, or the members on the NDC side, stood in the way of many things that this government wanted to do. Principally, Parliament exercises oversight over the executive. The people of Ghana voted in a way that they wanted to ensure that the government of the day does not run roughshod over parliament and do as it pleases. So it was within the rights of NDC members in parliament to ensure that the feet of that government was held to account. And you find that on many, many occasions, they succeeded in doing that. I do not expect an MPP member of parliament who doubles as the first deputy speaker to be happy about the situation. So that criticism, in my view, is not surprising. I don't think that it invalidates the work that parliament did. In fact, that parliament is one of the very best we've had, because for the first time, the numbers were such that we needed to achieve consensus on the important things before they could pass. And no government in power would be happy about that situation. The other issue, too, is that it is important for us to avoid a bit of hypocrisy in the things that we do. Honorable Joe Osewusu knows that if the president of the country at any point does not want a particular speaker, it will not happen. He will not be nominated by the party. I don't know what the arrangement is in the MPP in terms of the leadership of the president within the party itself. But in the NDC, the president is the leader of the party. It is not possible to go and elect a speaker or nominate a speaker without recourse to him. It is called realpolitik. It is a reality. There's absolutely nothing wrong with him being part of the decision making.
This communication, though,
sure.
some have said, shouldn't it have come from your side in Parliament? Then subsequently we'll have the president-elect backing that nomination by the side of the House, rather than more like the imposition that we're seeing.
Is being done by the NDC.
And not by the executive. At least he's a president-elect now.
The nomination is being done by the NDC through its members of Parliament. I have told you that I'm a member of Parliament-elect. But I was elected on the ticket of the NDC. There's a reason why that happened. If I did not agree with the way that the NDC does its things, I would have contested as an independent candidate. But here I am, a member of the NDC of many years standing. I have stood on the ticket of the NDC. I go to Parliament, and the decision is to be made. And I'm told that the views of the party should not matter. It doesn't happen anywhere. It doesn't happen in the MPP.
But to start with, if we have the president always...
The president has not... MFA, the president happens to be the leader.
Yes.
He is the ultimate...
And he will continue to be the leader of the NDC.
MFA,
is it the case that going forward, that's what we are going to be seeing?
MFA,
that's the concern.
The president has said that the parliamentary leadership of the NDC has the mandate to nominate Honorable Alban Bagbin, Right Honorable Alban Bagbin, as the Speaker of the 9th Parliament. Full stop.
Yeah.
It is up to members of Parliament on the NDC side to either endorse or reject that nomination.
And
that is left
do
for
you
us.
see a rejection happening?
If we endorse it, as I believe we will, it is because we agree that Right Honorable Bagbin is the right man for the job. If we disagree, we will vote against it. In this instance, I can hazard a guess that we agree with that endorsement.
Okay.
The president has not foisted that on us. He has not shoved that down our throats. Indeed, we will be engaging in a secret ballot. Nobody will know who voted how. In the last parliament, where it is obvious that some MPP members voted against the nominee of the MPP, do we know to date who the dissenting voices were? We don't know.
But as it stands now, we don't have, a nomination. Any other person can.
I suspect that they must do so. Even if they do not, it only also means that they agree with the choice. That's all. So I don't think that we should allow a certain political narrative that this is entirely novel. That is what has happened all the time. That in itself does not pose a problem.
But that's not what we saw when we came to the nomination of Alban Bagbin in 2020. Is that what we saw?
No, but
we didn't see the leader of the party. For instance, you had a leader of the party at the time, but we didn't see a statement from the leader of the party.
Yes, the fact that there was no statement does not mean that is not what happened.
Okay.
I can say with 100% certainty that there's no way Professor Michael Kwei would have become Speaker of Parliament if President Akufo-Addo had not given the go-ahead. I think that we must avoid this kind of duplicity in public commentary. Let us not pretend that what is the case is not the case. The only difference is that now a public statement has been put out affirming what we all know to be the case. In terms of the decision making as to whether or not Honorable Bagbin becomes, or Right Honorable Bagbin becomes Speaker, it is within the purview of NDC members of Parliament to do so. If we disagree with the choice, we will vote against him. If we agree, as I believe we do now, we will vote for him. So I don't think that these misgivings in themselves invalidate what has happened. That is what has happened all this while. I don't think that necessarily means that Parliament suddenly is in the pockets of the executive. Of course, genuine concern has been expressed about the way that parliamentary business has been carried on over the years. But there are other reasons that account for that, other than the nomination or who the Speaker is. Indeed, he himself has said that the Speaker, in fact, is not a member of Parliament.
Yes.
The Speaker does not take part in decision making. At most, he is only an arbiter.
But he raised concerns about the fact that we saw the opposite, more like the Speaker,
MFA,
more like acting like a member of the House.
When Professor Okoye was Speaker, there were many instances where NDC members violently disagreed with him, including Honorable Muntaka, who has had cause to criticize Right Honorable Bagui.
Yes.
NDC members, some of us outside of Parliament, thought that he was too partisan, and that on many occasions he interpreted the rules to suit the ends of the MPP. One of them is whether or not an independent candidate or a member of Parliament on a party ticket who decides to run independent automatically vacates his seat, as he did in the case of the Famina MP. In fact, when he went to the Supreme Court said that that was not the proper interpretation. But Right Honorable Michael Quay interpreted it that way, I believe, to suit the ends of the MPP. So as for the criticism of bias and partisanship, it will always come. Okay. But the point is that the Speaker is not a member of Parliament. He does not take part in decision making. It is a member of Parliament who decide one way or the other how any particular decision should go. But I don't think that these criticisms are valid in terms of practice over the period. The only difference is that there is a public statement. Honorable Sewusu knows very well that there is no way, since the time of President Kufuor, that anybody nominated to be Speaker by the MPP can attain that position if the President disagrees with it.
Okay.
I think there is something that we need to accept. Perhaps you can call for a reform in the way that this is done as part of the process to strengthen Parliament. That for me would be a valid call. We can all debate it and see whether or not it is the right thing to do. But I don't think that we should say that if Parliament is today perceived to be tied to the apron strings of the executive, it is simply because of how the Speaker is nominated.
It starts with some of these things.
There are fundamental problems. I agree that there are fundamental. In fact, the very idea that the President has to choose more than half of his ministers from Parliament invariably weakens Parliament. That for me is a more fundamental issue that we need to look at. In terms of resource allocation, how Parliament is worse off, and how the executive can use deprivation of funds, as a way to rein in Parliament. Those are for me more fundamental problems that we should address. Okay. Rather than create the impression that merely because a party is making the decision on who to nominate and that the President has sway in the way that it should be done, there is a difficulty. I don't think that is where we should be.
Well, I heard you point to the fact that you're hoping or you're expecting, you are picking information that maybe the minority side might put up a name for the Speaker.
Well, I have not
yes.
Let me make it clear. I have not picked up any information. Okay. I will not, perhaps I should say that I will not be surprised.
You will not be surprised.
Because that has been the convention over the period.
Okay.
It is also, the last time round, the majority, which is the MPP at the time, put up Professor Michael Quay. We also put up the Right Honorable Abambagbe.
Yes.
He prevailed.
Yes.
In previous years, that has happened. In fact, there was a year where the MPP insisted that they ought to be given all the 3 speakership slots. They took the Speaker position through Right Honorable Bejina Sechi Hughes. They took the first Deputy Speaker position. And then they took the second Speaker position. They gave it to Honorable Freddie Blee.
Is that what you're hoping to do?
No.
Who was an independent,
who at the time was an ally of the MPP anyway. I'm not saying that is what would happen. That is what will happen. But the point is that these things have always happened. If Parliament is weak, it is not because of that, in my candid view. Okay. There are other matters that we need to address.
Well, Mr. Joseph, at least you are not going to be part of the next Parliament, so I'm sure you can speak freely to this. What are you picking up in terms of whether the minority side will be putting up a name for a Speaker? Do you think that they ought to put up a name amongst others, or they should just go with what the majority side, at least the overwhelming majority side, is putting out, you would say?
I don't have any lead any information about it. But this 8th Parliament, which is coming to an end soon, have not discussed any such matter. I'm not sure that it would be appropriate or it would be wise to put up any candidate. if my view were asked or sought, I will never make any such recommendation. I think our approach to our work in Parliament should differ in so many ways. Approach should be different from what has happened in the past. But I think I should correct the record of
how so? I'll allow you to correct the record, but how so? You're saying that this side should not put up any name. They should just go with the status quo or what it is that the majority side have put out. You won't advise that they put up a candidate. Is that what?
No, I do not. I will not recommend.
Oh dear. We're having a terrible connection. Maybe we'll take that again.
To be a fruit.
My connection to yes.
I'm saying that I will not recommend that the minority puts up any candidate. I do not think that any value can be gained from presenting a candidate. I think that we should use a different approach to be heard and on the floor of the House, not necessarily getting into competition to be pointless.
But with the overwhelming majority anyway, is there much they can do?
That's exactly the point I'm making. There's no point in going to waste your time on putting up a candidate. It only lead to the frustration of the person you put up. Our approach should be not focused on competing on the floor of the House. There's nothing to be gained in that exercise. I think we should be rather choosing another option of being heard and presenting ourselves as a better alternative for the next election.
What option would that be?
Well, don't worry, you will cross the bridge when we get there.
Because with an overwhelming majority that this side has, 183 yes, against 88, and 4 independent candidates at least, we are waiting one more seat. Really, is there much that this side can do, you would say?
As I've said there's not much you can do on the floor of the House. Mm-hmm. On the floor of the House, there's not much you can do in getting into competition. When it's a decision, you can just abstain, but then you have to make sure that the alternative is heard and presented as better.
But off the floor, what can happen?
The floor, you make your point. Mm-hmm. You make your case strongly and leave the majority to take their decision. That was what in the past, and I'm so disappointed the way the incoming MP is approaching the situation. We had those challenges in the 7th Parliament, but we strove to make sure that the minority is never trumped over. It was part of a conscious exercise to make sure that on any matter, if the majority and minority then had a strong decision, we would wait, listen to them, sometimes bring in the minister and make sure that the concerns, if they are legitimate, are addressed, or what is presented by the House is sufficiently accommodating of what the minority presents, as long as it will help the cause. And when it comes to making decisions, it's always helpful if you have room for everybody. In the end, we are doing a national service. But I was talking about what happened in the previous parliament, in which MPP practically took the 2 minorities in addition to the speaker. Yeah. What had happened was that whereas the MPP was presenting a candidate, then they sponsored another candidate, which was also from the MPP. Try as they could, they couldn't resolve that matter. So they threatened that if we win, then we will also present a candidate for second deputy. And that's what happened. They also presented a candidate, because the convention is that the party with the majority presents the speaker and the first deputy. Then the party with the majority present the second deputy. But when they opted to present a candidate for the speakership, then the majority also said, well, then we will also present a candidate for the second deputy. And unfortunately, they won also. Those things, in my view, we should find a way of resolving them without getting into competition, because the answer, as of today, if you get into competition, the answer is obvious. So you should use more negotiative approach to resolving issues.
Okay. With your approach, some have already started saying that it then looks like we are going to have a very dull parliament this time. But really, in wrapping up with you, the issue about second deputy speaker has come up. Would you say it should be an independent candidate? Just like we saw previously that we've been talking about.
I'll leave that to the 9th Parliament and the leadership of the 9th Parliament to make their decisions. Setting out, I think, if we, like I just said, if we respected the time-tested rule of making sure that the minority is represented, it will be helpful in the speakership. But if they choose to take all, you can complain.
As you retire from Parliament this time, would you want to consider being a speaker if your side puts up your name?
I'm afraid not. I have no desire to participate in any public service again.
Okay.
No public service will interest me any further.
Okay. We're grateful, and I'm sure we'll engage further as we speak, at least speaking in the media. I'm sure you will not consider that so much as a public service, but would we be engaging further? We are grateful for your time. That's the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, outgoing, first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, and Bekwa MP, Jose Wusude, engaging us on via Zoom. And just as we wrap up on this, at least, we've been talking about the transition, and I'm sure that Felix, let me find out, really. I would want to know, second Deputy Speaker, let us in on what's going to happen. Do you know? Do you have an idea?
I do not have insight into that. The point is that it is a decision that has to be taken collectively by the various caucuses. As I speak to you, we are even yet to meet as a majority caucus. And therefore, I believe it to be hasty and premature on my part to be hazarding guesses and second guessing.
People have started throwing in advice and saying that at least that should come from the independent. At least you have 4.
Well, the point is that these decisions have to be made on the basis of consultation and judging. So we will meet, and as and when we do so, we will take a decision that we believe will be in the best interest of the Parliament and the country as a whole. But let me make a point. That you see, numbers do not necessarily disadvantage you. To be honest, in times when parties have had limited numbers in Parliament, that is when they have made the most impact. Everybody in Ghana knows that one of the key reasons why the NPP won the 2000 election was the performance of their 63 or so MPs in Parliament between 1996 and the election in 2000, where you had the likes of Nana Akufo-Addo himself, Yaberema, Kandapa, Hakman Owusu, J.H. Mensah, and what have you. People thought that, yes, even though they were limited in Parliament, they made sterling contributions to parliamentary practice, and their positions on national issues resonated with a significant section of our population. And perhaps that is what drew many voters to them. In fact, if you check the performance of the NDC minority between 2017 and 2021, it contributed significantly to making the NDC attractive, because I would even argue that that was a period when the NDC mounted the stiffest challenge to the NPP in terms of holding their feet to the fire of accountability and exercising proper oversight over the conduct of government. So it depends on how the MPs on either side conduct themselves. We have overwhelming majority, but I think that our disposition should not be triumphalist. We should lend a ear to the minority's views, whilst taking positions that are in the best interest of the country. Thankfully, we have a president who has the capacity to do that. He is not excessively partisan, like his predecessor, who also was his predecessor in times past. It's a very interesting argument that we have here. And President Mahama is not disposed to being overly partisan. He believes in consensus building.
We're going to see
and where overtures have to be made, I don't think that he will drag his feet. Ultimately, he will make decisions that are in the best interest of the country. But I don't believe that the sheer numbers or the fact that we have such a supermajority means that it is going to be a rubber stamp. Government business will be subjected to strict scrutiny to ensure that it complies with laid down rules, regulations, and that overall, it is in the best interest of the people of Ghana, in whose name we exercise the authority that we will be exercising in the first place. So I think that the people of Ghana can rest assured that this is not going to be a boring parliament, as you described it. It will be a parliament that will carry out.
Have your way.
No.
Everything.
No, but we'll have our way on the things that are right, the things that matter most, the things that are important to the people of Ghana. Mind you, it was the people who voted us in.
Yes.
If they didn't think we would do a good job, they would not have voted us into parliament. They would not have voted out the MPP parliamentarians in the numbers that they have done. Mind you, the MPP has lost major strongholds. Domiko Abidjan, which I believe is the biggest stronghold of the MPP, has been lost. And if people in such a stronghold lose confidence in the MPP's ability to represent them, and they elect an MDC member of parliament, it means that they expect that the NDC will champion their interest. How did they come by that decision? They looked at the program and propositions that we offered and thought that it was superior to anything that the MPP was offering. So the implementation of that program itself is not detrimental to the interests of the people of Ghana, because they say that they agree with that program. What will Parliament be doing? It will be our duty to ensure that these programs, as they are implemented, are done in a manner that meets with the hopes and aspirations and expectations of the people of Ghana, and that they are carried out in a manner that is in their interests, in a manner that does not jeopardize the well-being and welfare of the people of Ghana. That will be our primary responsibility, even though our party is in power and has a majority. And as I have indicated, the man from whom these programs will be emanating is a man who has the capacity to exercise sound judgment, and is not in a haste to seek retribution against political opponents. Is not in a haste to be overly partisan, to run roughshod over opponents and push through things that are harmful to the national interest. So I think that it will be an exciting parliament. It will be a parliament that will be conscientious in the things that it does. And we are not a majority that is just there to rubber stamp everything that and anything that government brings.
Well, this
we certainly are not going to approve funds that will be used to dig a hole in the name of building a cathedral, for instance, when we cannot provide textbooks for basic school pupils. We will not be doing
Well,
that.
it remains to be seen, though. But this is an audience-based show, and we've had a number of messages, and someone is asking, really, the issue about the mandate and that statement, for instance. At least many still believe that it is more like the executive foisting a decision on the legislation. But really, the question is that... Is this a decision that the president is taking, or the president-elect is taking, and he will not live to regret it, knowing that criticism over the period? You've been speaking to it, but is this, at least we've seen Alban Bagben criticizing when he was in government. You spoke to it, but they're asking that is this a decision that he will not regret?
If you have a president who does not have a problem appointing a man who criticizes him, it should gladden your heart. It simply means that we have taken one further step in terms of our democratic
But this is the speaker that we've seen, his side, at least those who fought physically to bring him to become a speaker, describing him as a dictator amongst others. It
simply means that he does not dance to the tune of his party. And who best to have in that seat at this time, when we have a supermajority, an overwhelming majority, than a man who is principled and firm, and is able to say that, yes, I belong to your party, yes, you fought tooth and nail to make me speaker, but I believe that you are wrong on this one, and I'm not going to allow you to do so. I don't think that any people who want to see democracy develop and evolve in the way that we want to see it should have a difficulty with somebody like that.
So the concern also
he is uniquely qualified, in my view, to hold the position that we want him to hold.
Well, in the past, the criticism was that the president-elect was not allowing persons like himself, amongst others, to come and tell him what they ought to tell him privately, but rather they were forced to say it openly amongst others. And also the fact that some appointments he made back then were undeserving. People that were not supposed to be there were the ones that he has surrounded himself with. All these issues you say have been resolved?
MFI, it is a criticism. You see, a criticism simply means that you have expressed disagreement with an action taken by a president or a government. It does not mean that you yourself are right in what you've said. You may indicate that MFR is not fit to host this program. I may hold a contrary view and think that you are doing a sterling job. It is only a matter of disagreement. The mere fact that someone disagrees with your position as host of this program does not mean that you are doing a poor job. They have a right to perceive you a certain way. Ultimately, it is the people who we serve who will determine whether or not they are satisfied with the performance. So the criticism in itself is not a problem. But as I have been at pains all night to stress, if a president comes to power and is able to appoint a critic to lead, or is able to recommend the appointment or election of a critic to lead an important arm of government like parliament, it should gladden our heart.
How many more critics are we hoping that the president-elect will be appointing?
President Mahama will make
as we are making progress.
President Mahama will make merit-based appointments. As and when he deems you fit to occupy a particular position, he will let you occupy that position, regardless of what you may feel about him or what he feels about you. I don't think that we should have a difficulty with the president. Like, indeed, contrast him with the posturing of President Akufo-Addo, and you see that he's a far better person to lead this country. And I'm not surprised that the people of Ghana gave him the sort of mandate that they've given him. It simply means that they have assessed his performance, compared it to what we have now, and realized that he's a far superior person in terms of his ability to govern in a manner that achieves consensus on the important matters, in a manner that recognizes that we may have different views, we may have different opinions. But if he recognizes that in spite of the opinions you have about him, you merit a certain position, he will give it to you. I think it is an important step forward in our democratic development. And it's something that we need to appreciate. Well, as we engage in this.
After 7th January, I know that he's going to hit the ground running. You've already issued a statement when it comes to the appointment in the area of security. For instance, how soon are we going to see the rest of the appointments? Well, I guess this will be very fast.
First of all, you know that right after January 7th, there's going to be a void. Now, President Mahama cannot make substantive appointments in certain positions. For instance, you need the Minister of Interior to helm the Department of Government that is in charge of internal security. You need a Defense Minister to look after military affairs. You need a National Security Minister, for instance, to coordinate matters relating to security. But these are substantive appointments that need to go through a process. You cannot achieve all that in one day. But on the day that he is inaugurated as president, the current office holders, by virtue of their membership of the previous government, would have their mandates expire. And therefore, you need people to act in an interim capacity, pending the making of substantive appointments. So that is all that this is. So on 7th January, these 6 individuals will be in charge in an interim capacity of ensuring that Ghana's security architecture is properly managed until such time that we have substantive appointees in place. That is all that is happening. You recall that under President Mills and under President...
Just hold on that. Let me just wrap up with our radio audience. Unfortunately, we have to let you go at this point, and we'll continue right here on the Joy News channel, also on myjoyonline.com. A Walk with Jesus is up next on radio. But a substantive appointment is what we are asking.
Absolutely.
When will that happen? Knowing that already you're seeing a lot of statements and that coming, let us in on how soon that is going to happen. Because you said in the next 120 days, there's a lot that is going to happen.
If you read him, he said that in 14 days, his government will be up and running. So it will be up to Parliament to ensure that the approval processes are acted upon with dispatch. In order to ensure that government business does not suffer. So he intends to act quickly. You see, again, that is a reason why it helps to have an experienced hand. There is not a man who is new to governance. He understands the ins and outs of it. He knows exactly what to do. So if you watch him, he's remained calm in spite of troubling findings that we've made about the state of the country, because he knows exactly what to do, and he's made it clear that he has a social contract with the people. We do not have time to waste, so he's not going to spend an extended period of time putting in place a government, as has been the case in the past. He will act quickly, ensure that the right people are in the right places, and that they are in a position to begin the work that needs to be done to save our country from the depths to which it has been sunk at the moment.
With the intense lobbying that we've heard about, at least you've had COS also issue a statement debunking a list that's making the rounds in terms of people saying that that's the appointment list for President-elect John Dramani Mahama. Would you say that he's able to stick with the 60 that he promised?
I can say, he has not told me this, but looking at him, I'm able to say that he knows exactly who he wants to work with. And that is why, even before, on the campaign trail, several months to election, he made a point that within a relatively short time, he's going to put his place in government. There is a man who is already ready. He knows who he wants. It may be the case that there may be need for some adjustments here and there based on future development, or based on developments that occur as and when the decisions are to be made. But by and large, I believe that he knows who he's going to put where. Lobbying is not new.
Yes.
It's not the first time that it will be happening. It certainly won't be the last time. It's going to live with us for as long as governance and politics exist. So that is also allowed within the scheme of things. That in itself is not a difficulty. But I don't think that a president will necessarily be swayed because someone has lobbied. Unless, of course, you make a strong case and he's convinced that perhaps, contrary to an earlier position, you've made quite a convincing argument for him to put you there. That is also allowed in the scheme of things. But I don't think that in totality, that is necessarily going to sway him from doing what he believes has to be done. But he has said that he is going to put up the leanest government in Ghana's history.
Yeah, sticking with the 60.
Absolutely, absolutely. He is going to act on the promise that he's made to the people of Ghana. He does not intend to violate that. He will put in place a government that is lean but efficient, that can get the job done. Because the situation we are in...
some ministries going? Are you merging?
I think he's made it clear that there will be some rationalization.
Yeah.
That simply means that some ministries are going to be merged. He does not believe that a ministry has to be divided into several parts for it to function. He has made it very, very clear. Indeed, he has done it before. In his previous guise as president between 2013 and 2017, you saw that he had one transport ministry. He didn't have a railways ministry or aviation ministry or maritime ministry. He had one transport ministry. He had just two women in charge, the late Jifa Ativo and Joyce Bawa. They were in charge of the transport sector. In 2014, I woke up one day. I went to bed as Deputy Information Minister. I woke up as Communications Minister. Yeah. This time, the Information Ministry did not exist at the time because he didn't believe that we needed to have two ministries like that. And he has done it before. He has a track record of consolidating rather than, if you like, carving out additional roles, additional portfolios from existing ones, which in his view is simply a waste of public funds. Where we are now, we do not even have the resources we need to run our country. So the last thing we want to do is to waste it on an excessively large government machinery. He wants to rein that in and ensure that we go for efficiency rather than quantity.
From the permutations, at least, you've been speaking for the transition team. You are the special aide, issuing all the statements on his behalf by the calculations and everything. Can I say that you are the communications minister?
Well, I don't think that I'm in a position to confer that on myself. It is only President Mahama who makes the decision.
Okay.
At this stage, we are in opposition. We are not even in government.
Yes.
So anybody who is
just a few days to
anybody who is tapped to play a particular role is only helping with the transition. I'm a member of the transition team.
Okay.
I'm spokesperson of the transition team. Since 2017, I've been working with President Mahama as a special aide. Yes. So it is not an additional or new responsibility that has been given me. I've been doing this for quite. There are many occasions where you've called me to speak on matters relating to his office. Yeah. So it is not a new portfolio at all. It also does not mean anything. And we have to wait for President Mahama to make the decision in terms of who goes where. I don't think that you can necessarily say that because Mr. A or Mrs. B is playing a particular role, that necessarily is what he's going to do in that government. Okay. We would have to leave that for the president himself to determine.
Well, let's talk about 7th January, at least. You've been talking about the plans ahead of this. My colleague has been interacting with the Clerk of Parliament. We'll get to it shortly. But let's talk about the plans in place. You mentioned that we are 98% there in terms of preparations. Walk us through it. What exactly is going to happen?
As I indicated earlier today, there was a meeting of the Joint Transition Team at which we were given a briefing on the status of preparations. So we are 98% through. I must indicate that the event that will take place on Tuesday is a parliamentary session.
Okay.
If you like, you can say it's an expanded parliamentary session. The only reason why it is being held at the Independence Square is because of the constraints of space within the parliamentary chamber. The number of people who want to be part of this will simply not fit into the chamber. So it has been moved to a larger venue. And that is the only reason why it's being held outside of parliament. But it's a parliamentary session, so all parliamentary rules would apply. Because of the presence of high-profile personalities, several heads of states, and other important dignitaries from around the world, there's a need for some security arrangements. Also, to ensure that there is some order in the way that the program unfolds, there's a need to put in place some security arrangements. Yesterday, I engaged the media to apprise you on preparation so far. So the place will be cordoned off. That is the area where the ceremony itself will take place will be cordoned off. And it will be accessed only by invitation. So if you do not have an invitation card, there's no way that you will be allowed in. And that has only been done to ensure that there's some order at the place, lest people who have not been invited to the program show up. But the members of the public who do not have invitations are welcome to sit in the stands, which has tens of thousands of seats to accommodate them. I think that they will have a fair view of the place and be able to follow what is happening. In addition to that, large screens will be provided to beam the events live to people who may not be able to see beyond the cordoned off area. Arrangements have been put in place to take care of the media with the accreditation. At the last count, over 700 applications had been received for media accreditations. As I speak to you, I'm aware that about 400 of them or so have been issued, and it continues. I believe that by Tuesday we would have a lot more. As of yesterday, 20 heads of state had confirmed their participation. 20 heads of state, 5 vice presidents, 2 former heads of state, 1 speaker of parliament, and other dignitaries from various international bodies like the AFDB, the Commonwealth Secretariat, and what have you. I indicated yesterday that it is entirely possible that these numbers may go up as and when more heads of state and other dignitaries confirm their participation. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, through the State Protocol Department, has been able to put in place arrangements to welcome these heads of state and usher them to the venue for the event to take place. Members of the public are strongly advised to be seated by 8:30 a.m. The program itself will start around 10 a.m., by which time we expect the speaker to process to take his seat and usher in the president-elect and the vice president-elect. We expect that it will not go beyond 2 hours so that people can return to their normal activities during the day. Security will be watertight as is to be expected at a program like this. And we expect a smooth program in general.
Okay, we look forward to that and we'll definitely engage further. We are indeed grateful, Phyllis Kwachu, for special aid to the president-elect, also the MP-elect. Once again, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Abrase Bukwamankes for spending time with us. And like I said, my colleague Maxwell Agbagba has been interacting with the Clerk of Parliament, Mr. Jetro, at the Independence Square earlier today. This is the interaction.
Preparations are far advanced for Tuesday's ceremony. I can tell you that all the people who will be playing critical roles on the day are here today, busily working, even on a Sunday. So on a normal day here at the Black Star Square, on a Sunday, it's quiet here. But this place is buzzing with a lot of activity this afternoon because of the events that would be taking place on Tuesday. We're privileged to have with us here the production designer here. Let's speak to the production designer, Tony.
I mean, it's what should I call it? It's an area that has been set up to house Parliament, if you want to call it, because this is a parliamentary event, and we have section areas for different categories of people, and then we've been able to section it in different theme colors. I mean, of course, taking the theme from our flag, So we have the yellow section. And that's supposed to house the president-elect, the chief justice, the speaker of parliament, and the vice president-elect. Okay, that's in the middle. In the middle of the yellow section. Yeah. To their right will be the spouses of the presidents and other dignitaries. That's the side. That's that side, yes. Yeah. And then to the left of that is going to be all the invited presidents that are coming. For the event, yes.
We already know 10 heads of state will be coming. We're told 2 vice presidents, 2 former presidents would also be in as well. Okay, so this is the setup for the yellow session. Okay, so now the green session?
Yes, so the green session is for all the dignitaries that have been invited to be here. Okay. So both the green section and the red section are going to be for anybody who has an invitation to be at the inauguration, and that's where they are going to be. Now beyond that is the black section. Okay. And the black section is going to house parliamentarians and then their spouses, both on the left and right of them. Yes.
Okay. So parliamentarians will be in the middle and their spouses will be
flanked on the sides. Yes, flanked on the sides. Okay. Yes.
And then we have the red section here. For
invited guests and other dignitaries. I don't really have all the names and numbers, but I mean pretty much that's what it is. Yes. Okay. That there in the middle is where the swearing will happen.
Okay.
Yes, right here.
This is where the president-elect will hold the sword after taking the oath, swearing the oath. You stand here and then hold the sword of authority.
Correct. That's where it's going to be.
But we have the Clerk of Parliament here with us. Let's speak to the Clerk of Parliament.
Preparations in advance.
We have the Clerk of Parliament here with us. Let's speak to the Clerk of Parliament.
Preparations are in advance. We are virtually done. It's just a matter of arranging the chairs, putting the rest of the carpet, tidying up the place, and then where we have to do the electrical works to ensure that microphones are working, everything is in order. Those are the fine details we have to do. Some embellishments here and there which cannot be done now. It should be close to the eve of the event, probably tomorrow, by close of day tomorrow. The square would have been ready, would have been properly swept. The place will be locked up from public interference. Nobody comes in here to sweep the place and guarantee the safety and security of all Ghanaians who will be here that day. So we are on course, as you can see. 00 hours, the subsisting parliament would have dissolved. And we start the process. So the new business that can be transacted is the election of the speaker, which will be presided over by the clerk to parliament. And that will be done, will be seamlessly done, because nominations will be invited. We'll go through the process. What happened last 4 years, obviously was an aberration. Nobody desires any second. This time around, it does appear that there are some numbers to really help make definitive decisions, barring any hiccups. Which hiccups we would put our house in order to ensure that it doesn't occur. So once the speaker is elected, the speaker is elected.
You're not expecting tensions like we saw last 4 years?
We are not expecting, neither are we saying that the possibility of occurrence, neither are we denying the possibility of occurrence. But what we are saying is that it's not a hung parliament. And this is so obvious. It's not a hung parliament. Once you don't have a hung parliament, it's for the members with the majority seats to organize themselves and to say, this is where we are going. Unless there's a split amongst them and they want to have 2, 3, 4 nominations, then you go through votings and all that. But we are hoping that all those things will be minimized. So once those things are minimized, simply we'll go through the process, nominations will be invited, and we would, depending upon if there's just one nomination, the clerk will declare the person as having been duly elected. If there are more than one, we'll go by secret ballot and go through the process. And once a speaker is elected, the Chief Justice will be in Parliament, will be attending upon the House, ready to administer the oath, to the Chief Justice. So once there is election, I'll invite the Chief Justice to, we invite the Chief Justice for the administration of oath and ask that the person elected as the Speaker, be conducted into the chamber for the administration of oath. The Speaker is conducted in the chamber. He is sworn in. After being sworn in, he is robed by the clerk. Having been robed by the clerk, he takes his seat as presiding officer. And the first thing he does, he calls the House to order. And having submitted to the will of the people, his first assignment is to swear members of Parliament elect in. And once members of Parliament elect are sworn in, then they elect deputy speakers. After electing the 2 deputy speakers, the job for the day would have been done. The Speaker suspends sitting for the House to reconvene at the designated venue, which is here, the Independence Square, for the swearing in of the President and the Vice President elect. So this is a roadmap. And when we get here,
the program
lineup is very clear. We come in here, obviously the judiciary come in, they normally process into the chamber. We have designated points where they will process into the chamber. They take their seats. The Chief Justice goes to the dais to sit at the appropriate place. Speaker, entourage with the clerks at table enter the chamber and calls the House to order. We would have been expecting the President and the Vice President elect arrival. Once they arrive, and then we have signals, the Speaker gives indication, invites the leaders, majority, minority leaders, to join us to receive the President and the Vice President at the central lobby here. So the President's entourage joins the Speaker's entourage into the chamber, and after that, the program now continues. Speaker welcomes them into the House and, indicates the main event for the day, which is administration of oath, invites the Chief Justice to proceed to the days, calls the His Excellency the President and Vice President elect in succession to take and subscribe to the oath. Okay. So that's it. The oath starts with the Vice President, and after that, you do the President because that's the climax.
Okay. Okay. Great. So you say that for now, like you rightly mentioned, all is set and we're ready.
All is set. Everything is set. We are ready. We're just waiting.
Well, so that's my colleague Maxwell Agbagba there interacting with Mr. Jethro. He's a clerk of parliament, recently elected, appointed by the Speaker of Parliament, and they're walking us through what to expect on Tuesday, and it starts actually from midnight all the way to the inauguration of the President and the Vice President. And my guests tonight have been Felix Kwachiofosu, who is a special aide to the President-elect. We also had Jose Wusu joining us as the first Deputy Speaker of the 8th Parliament, and also the MP for Bekwai, Oswald Going. And that's our show for today. Unfortunately, Dr. Rashid Rahman was unable to join us for the show, but we'll get to interact. But don't forget, this is your election headquarters, and we're giving you all that you need to know. We'll stay with you on this, and then at least walk you through all the way to the transition. This is your election headquarters. You stay with us for all the action right here on Joy News, on Joy 99.7 FM, myjoyonline.com. I am MFR Pao. On behalf of the entire team, many thanks for your company. Have a good evening.